What here, lads? How about that? Well, as you all know, I've been supporting Newcastle United for 35 years. The day has finally come. With the cheese has moved, Martin, my friend. The fog on the tyne is all ours, buddy boy. The cheese has been moved. Aussie and Rich, commiserations, Manchester City fans, the former richest team in the country. Now it's the Geordie boys. Me and Martin are absolutely buzzing. How are we, lads? How are we? I've got my icon there, Alan Shearer, on the screen. How are the lads? Don't forget to follow Martin at Horsey Toon, Instagram the Geordie Way, and YouTube, our new YouTube channel, the Geordie Way. Let's go. City's in the mud. Newcastle are here. Time for a big team with real history to take over. I bet you're all gutted. How's it going, gentlemen?
Well, I was all right until that introduction.
Very good.
What can I say?
I feel like I've just been stabbed through the heart.
Martin there, dressed in his Newcastle United official merchandise. He's already been to the club shop in his black and white. Oh dear. Yeah,
Took me about 4 hours to get up there. And
so I guess that's a good way to lead into our first item of news this week, don't you think? Newcastle United, the takeover. It's happened. What does it mean?
It happened.
Apparently it's happened. What does it mean? I know this is not part of the scheduled program.
I'll let you go with that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I know this is not part of the scheduled programming, but I just thought we'd lead with it, since it is big news, isn't it? So what does it mean? What does it mean, gentlemen?
It doesn't mean, I don't think it means a huge deal. It probably just means United and Liverpool are fighting for fourth in the long run. I mean, so Newcastle will bring more money in, and if they are choosing to go the way of City and Chelsea, they will get the right manager and they'll get the right players and they'll make themselves a huge force at the top of the table. The Premier League becomes a stronger, better, more competitive league. More players will come to England to play. It's probably...
Do you think it's as straightforward as that, Rich? Do you think that... I said this last night about, yes, they will get players. Of course they will. Money talks. But I think it's going to be more... I think it's going to be the older boys. I think, like, if Buffon was still playing, I think they'd get him, and Ronaldo, if he hadn't gone to United, did get him. That sort of player, not Mbappe's and Haaland's. I don't think Mbappe's going to buy a house in Newcastle. No offence to the City of Newcastle, but it is an issue. We have that issue at Manchester City. A lot of players that might come to our club are dissuaded from doing so because it ain't London or it ain't Paris. So that's going to be even more of an issue in Newcastle, surely.
I think it will be, an issue about them getting the equivalent of Messi in a few years, but in our lifetime, we've seen very, very good players go to Newcastle when they had a chairman who was willing to spend money, and they've now got owners who have, exponentially more money than Sir John Hall had. So, yeah, they may not get an Mbappe or a Haaland, and to be honest, they're not going to get Mbappe and Haaland because they're going to take 5 or 7 years to become, a club able to sign the top players, just like City did, just like Chelsea did. So, no, they won't be going for Mbappe and Haaland, but they'll be going for the best of the next tier down. And as that turns them into a top 10 or a top 5 club, they'll then be able to buy, the David Silvas, the Agueros, the Yayas that are around. They'll be able to go and buy those top, up and coming players. And I've no doubt they are quite capable of becoming as a bigger, successfuler club in the Premier League standings as City or Chelsea have been over that time. The only thing they'll have is that City and Chelsea are already there, whereas in that sense, City only had Chelsea to worry about with that financial strength, and probably Chelsea only had United to worry about with that financial strength. But it just makes the top four more competitive, and probably makes a few clubs a bit, gutted they didn't stick by the Super League 6 months ago.
I think the other thing as well to think about is that from the statement that the new owners have put out, is that this is going to be a long process. They're not just going to throw money and expect things to kind of suddenly be, winning the league, winning the Champions League within the next couple of years. They've already mentioned that their model is going to be very similar to Manchester City's when we were took over by Sheikh Mansour. And I think the other thing that people need to realise, and maybe Newcastle fans need to realise as well, is that there is financial fair play. Now, I know that's going to change soon, but I think they're going to be more tighter restrictions on them. I mean, it's already come out saying that if the owners, the Saudi owners, if they a court basically running the club, then the club is kicked out straight away of the Premier League. So what does that mean, going forward for Newcastle United? I mean, they're going to have to play within the lines very tight.
I think what Newcastle United will be looking for over the next season or two is they'll be looking for their version of Yaya Toure and Kolo Toure and Adebayor. So, and for me, those players are at City. Come and get them. Ilkay Gundogan and Riyad Mahrez. Go for it. Come and buy them. And other than that, I did post in our little group chat before about maybe because they will be restricted on getting Mbappes and stuff like that, maybe because they can't ever persuade that no matter how much money they've got, maybe we will see some young new Alan Shearers coming through, new Northeasterners coming through. And maybe that, because obviously, as you all know, one of my big complaints about Manchester City is, where's the youth, where's the youth, where's the youth? Maybe Newcastle they've got the freedom almost to give that more of a try, because nobody's expecting them to go out now and win the Premier League next season, are they? Nobody. That's 5 years away if they do it. So maybe for the next couple of years, there's no reason why they can't do what we can't do. There's no reason why they can't do what we can't do and play youth, give that all a try first.
There's also, they've got a lot of restructuring to do, as in like their training academy is probably what ours was back before the takeover. There's a lot of money they're going to have to just pump into the club. Forget about buying superstar players right now. They've got to sort out their finances. They've got to sort out their structure. They've got to sort out the stadium. It's a long process. So even if they do want to look at youth, they've got to have the right, facilities to kind of to have all this on the go.
Yeah. The rumour is they had their ice baths in paddling pools. They bought kids' paddling pools for ice baths after games because they didn't have enough space and facilities at the ground to treat their players professionally.
I'm just going to apologise. I'm just thing because I can't hear anyone. So I do apologise. I'll be back in 2 minutes.
You're having some technical difficulties. I think the other thing as well is looking, you can't begrudge, Newcastle fans for this. I mean, we would be the last people to turn around and go, we're jealous or whatever, but they're going to come into the same lot of stick that we did, when we got took over by Sheikh Mansour. They're going to start getting that. It may not happen straight away, the whole fairy tale, but eventually, other clubs, other fans are going to start laying into them going, well, you're just another City, you're just another Chelsea. That's going to hit them hard because I think, they've always had this, we're a big club, we've won the league, we've got our history, so have we. They can't bash us with that stick like they have done. I think it's going to be a hard, bitter pill to swallow eventually.
Yeah, and I think you look at Saudi Arabia and they're just, on any scale you'd apply to UAE, they're the evil big brother, and UAE's the more liberal, smaller, more open, younger brother. So, anything that City can be beaten with, Saudi, because of the United Arab Emirates, Newcastle can now be beaten with 5 times as hard. So, but I've always felt that the British government, since Thatcher, has encouraged huge investment from Saudi Arabia into the UK, creating tens of thousands of jobs in the defence industries, buying up huge amounts of property, investing in businesses. So, I've always found it a little bit bizarre that, Saudi Arabia and UAE are almost proxies for America and therefore Britain in the Middle East, and have huge investments in every aspect of our economy. And then we suddenly get all Amnesty International about football. Either we believe in these things, and that is truly a way that the country and the people live, or we don't just pretend to become moral about football when we spend the rest of our week ignoring exactly the same thing in every other aspect of life. And that's the hypocrisy from other fans that's just, to me, quite ridiculous.
Oh, most definitely. We've been beaten with that stick more times than I can count. So, like I said, eventually, once this fairy tale for Newcastle, the bubble bursts and people start kind of, hitting out on them like they have done with us, they'll feel that medicine.
Yeah, and and what they will realise is when they finally win that league, it will seem like the greatest moment for probably many of them of their lives, but they'll realise that the second time is never quite so good, and that will become a peak. So they will realise some of the downsides of becoming an inverted commas top club. Yeah,
because they're going to get the likes of people going, you bought the league, forget about you've got all these fans, forget about you've got about your history, your Alan Shearers, your top goal scorer. People are just going to throw that you bought the league because of the money, which is what every club does. We're no exception. Liverpool are no exception. Chelsea are no exception, and Man United are no exception. It's whoever has the most money, who has the most influence. And whoever can go out there and get the best managers, get the best players. That's what it comes down to. And to get that, you've got to have the money. And now Newcastle have got the money. I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's going to be an immediate impact for them. The thing they've got to do this season is stay up. The rumours that they're going to be looking at a new manager.
Talking about wealth, because the chat is occupied with the wealth side of it. Rich, can you please? You're a financial guy, right? You are a. What's your? You don't have to say what your exact job is, but you just make it clear that you are in the financial know. You are an ITK when it comes to finances. Now, the difference between the worth of our club and the personal fortune of the family of people that own us are two separate things. That's correct, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the house of our sheikh is from the things that I saw is approximately worth around £623 billion. He is quite literally the head of a household which is one of the richest estates in the entire world. And not only that, they own assets and geography, literal pieces of fucking geography, all around the world. That you can't even put a price on it. So this whole back and forth that people keep having about, well, Newcastle's owner's now the richest. Yes, his specific assets invested into his portfolio may be bigger on paper, but as a whole, our owner gazumps him massively because of the fortune of the household.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to, learn a bit more about the Saudi, because if it's, I thought it was the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, which is purchasing the 80% shares, in which case it is effectively, the money of the state. And the same way, the 600 billion you talked about for the Sheikh, that's effectively the sovereign wealth fund of the UAE. So our Sheikh, has somewhere you'll see between 20 and 30 billion private wealth.
Yeah,
a bit like the bit like
because
the Queen
that's what I'm
has
saying is being
private
compared
wealth.
though. That's what I'm saying is being compared. It's pointless when people are comparing the Sheikh's private wealth to the Saudi state's wealth, because then obviously the Saudi state does look bigger. But it's not as if the Sheikh couldn't call upon the reserves of the money that he does have. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's just
and
in
bearing
other
in mind
names.
and bearing in mind the size of the clubs, it's almost irrelevant, because the size of the private wealth of people like the Sheikh means that they would never need to use sovereign funds if they didn't need to. But the way to think about it for people in the UK is that, the Queen has her private wealth, so she has a couple of homes that are private homes, and she has a great deal of wealth that's private, so she can fund Prince Andrew's legal costs using private wealth. But the Queen also has immense sovereign wealth, so most of her homes and most of her property and art and funds are sovereign funds owned by the country, which she has access to use, but she uses effectively as the head of state of the UK.
Yeah, so I hope that gives some clarification for anyone out there you're gonna get Newcastle fans over the coming weeks going, we're X times richer than you and blah blah blah. It's relatively irrelevant.
Yeah, it's irrelevant. Bill, who's richer? Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos? They're both so rich they could, do anything, and it's a bit them having a fight in a car yard.
Mm-hmm.
Can I just make a point in the chat?
Sure.
Ronan By as I said about City, make their own money now. We're not reliant on Sheikh Mansour like we once were. And that's where Newcastle are going to have to kind of look at as well. They can't just expect their owner's going to pump in a load of money. He'll pump a load of money into the stadium, the facilities and stuff like that. But I think when it comes to transfers and stuff like that, tell me if I'm wrong, but it's where the club makes its own money to financially kind of buy the players.
I think there'll be some element in that, but I think they'll unquestionably invest some money. I would expect to see, signing 3 or 4 players. Those that Newcastle strengthen to get themselves secure into Europe, then to get themselves secure in the top 4, because they aren't going to make money to be able to compete on wages and within financial fair play until they get to those levels. So I think that's exactly what City did. But you can only buy a certain tier of player until you establish in the Champions League. Then you can buy the next tier of player, and then you can buy the next tier of player. And at the same time, they'll sort out their academy so that they can start bringing through, strong youth players again. And, yet again, we will have more competition, vying for the players that we want in 4 or 5 years' time when Newcastle are up at the top.
Righty. So, final thoughts on Newcastle before we move on to the main body of conversation this evening.
Can I just mention something on it? Because obviously I have
not really, Martin, because we're looking to move on now.
I know, mate.
So you can have final thoughts, but the time's been there, and because you've had issues, we're not going to stagnate.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Don't worry.
Final thoughts then, Martin.
I just wish him all the best. I think people need to just get past who owns the club and realise that football is a business. The sport element is going less and less now. So I just wish him all the best. Newcastle are very similar to where we were when we got taken over. And we'll wait and see. All I'll say is enjoy the ride. Enjoy the hate, because you're going to get it. You just have to deal with it and just enjoy the ride, because it will be one hell of one. I can tell you that.
Right, let's get into the main body of this evening, gentlemen. I want to start. We've got 2 questions each, but let's go around the room one at a time. Let's start with Mr. Aussie. Aussie. Oi, oi, oi.
Oi, oi, oi. So I just wanted to bring up Pet's comments that he's he talked about in recent days about the 5 substitute rule. And he's been talking about this in the Carrow Cup. He wants to use 5 substitutes for this competition, which, I'll get onto my points, how I feel about this. But I wanted to ask you guys what you thought about his comments, about do you think he's right in what he's saying?
Can I give you my initial thought?
No, of course you can't, Rob.
Oh, well, my initial thought is Pep Guardiola always moans about substitutes. Pep Guardiola could have 7,000 substitutes and he'd still only use 1. So that's my initial thought of it.
Yeah, well, that was my initial thought as well. But I wanted to branch this off slightly as well, because he talked about the Carrow Cup, but I'm thinking the rest of Europe is using 5 subs just in their own domestic leagues, and we're not. Now, that's going to be a big disadvantage come Champions League, knockout stages, for us and other clubs.
England's always been at a disadvantage, and I finally got Rich to agree with me a couple of weeks ago on this one. So let's hope that he hasn't changed or forgot that he agreed with me. In the fact that the standard of European football is lesser than the English game of football, so no matter how good the players are, they only ever have to play to about a level of 80%, which means they have a carryover of 20% extra in the tank every time. So then when they come to playing against English teams, they've got 20% in reserve that the English teams have to make up for in sheer will, grit and determination. I said this, Rich, you agreed with me, please still agree with me.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
So this potentially could put us at even more of a disadvantage. However, rolling all that back in a second, Ozzy, I don't want it because it makes the sport less competitive. If you can change 5 players, it lessens the product. Lessens the product, mate.
All right.
That's like saying let's try having a league with 2 goalkeepers. What about 12v12? Or let's say that the top 6 teams have to play with 10 men, but the bottom 14 teams can play with 12. That's what it is. It's that. I know that those are dramatic examples of that, but it's an extension of it. The reason why 3 substitutes works perfectly is because it's tactics. You have to employ more tactics. You have to be more tactically astute. If you've got 5 substitutes, then you can make more mistakes, and that lessens the product.
I think Pep's argument is that injuries are going to happen yet again this season. If the 5 subs isn't brought back in, I'm going to let Rich kind of have his say now.
Yeah, I mean, this has happened in nearly every sport, apart from football, where, and you'll see it, if anyone who follows, rugby league itself is actually moving back from it, is they want games played at the same intensity for the entire game. They want, no dropping in standards as people get tired. My view is that domestically, it would be terrible for City, because City are where they are the best team in the country, because we wear down our opponents. We tire our opponents mentally and physically. We pull them all over the pitch, and we are a very fit squad. So domestically, in terms of winning the Premier League, it would help, to my mind, everyone else more than us to have 5 substitutes. Because when you see even teams as good as Chelsea and Liverpool looking leggy in the first half of a game because we have pulled them all over the pitch, I don't see why on earth we'd want to give them more chance to strengthen their team and take away our big strength. However, the disadvantage to that is, as Rob said, and it's true, that we do that and we don't use substitutes, and Pep doesn't often use them, then we are going to be tired, more tired for those games in Europe, potentially, compared to European clubs. So there is a flip side, but to me, I wouldn't want to give away our advantage, which
there is one caveat.
Tiring teams.
There is one caveat that I would add. Trial it first if you're going to do it at all. Trial it only for the last 6 games of a season, not a whole season. Because let's say that theoretically, and in practice really, the last 6 games of the season is when the teams are at the most tired. and when they need the most refreshing. And when you're at your most tired physically, that's when you're more prone to injury, right? So you either trial it over the Christmas period that everyone complains about, because the Christmas period is the most fixture congested, or you do it at the Easter one. That's one way you could trial it. I'm not saying adopt it, but trial it. The second one is 5 substitutions. You're allowed three first teamers or whatever you'd consider first team, but the other 2 substitutions have to be academy. That's what I'd say. That's what I'd say if they're going to trial it.
Yeah.
But they have trialled it. Don't forget that. They kind of did it during the pandemic. And I'm going to be honest, I get what Pep is his own worst enemy on this subject. He is his own worst enemy. It's like, for me, he sat there going, well, I want more subs. There's going to be more injuries. We'll make more substitutions then. You can't bitch and moan about something that you don't do.
But Rich is spot on though. That is the key to our success, is that ability to have a team dead by 70 minutes. And if that team can make 5 substitutions, changes a lot of outcome, Rob,
it will always be advantageous to the top teams, because we know Norwich, Burnley, even Everton, no disrespect, have not got 5 substitutes that would do anything. I think it was, I can't remember, it was Everton or another team the other week they couldn't even name 5 substitutions.
Burnley.
Was it Burnley? They couldn't even name 5. So straight away, like you just said, Rob, you're at an advantage whether you're at the top or the bottom with your money anyway. Yes, it was trialled in a way during the pandemic. And I get what, for a squad like Manchester City, you can get the other top players onto the pitch, because no one's got a bench like ours. Nobody has it. And Rich is spot on. 70 minutes, we drain teams down, because we play the same way. We don't sort of deviate from our game plan. We may change the players at the chess pieces, but we're still playing chess at the end of the day. We don't change our strategy at all. Pep goes out every single game to win it, bar 1 or 2 games.
Okay. I want to come back to Ozzy, because Ozzy asked the question. Ozzy, are we answering the question in the way that you thought we'd come about it? Are we giving appropriate answers to the question, or?
No, I think everyone's initial kind of reaction was the same as mine. You know, Pep is his own worst enemy by saying this, because he doesn't use his full 3 substitutions that he's got already. So that's a bit annoying. I also think, if this was to happen, I think it's the wrong competition to be looking at to do it in. I don't really understand, if you're going to pick anything, you're either picking the Champions League for it, or you're picking, your domestic league.
I just want to address a point that Chris Baker's just said there. I'm not so sure we win games. Maybe not so much of late, Chris, but certainly 17-18 season and 18-19 season, we were doing a lot of it. The last 20 minutes was key to a lot of those games. So, yeah, maybe we are changing and adapting as a club anyway. Maybe you've got a point that we're moving on from that sort of last 20 minutes sort of deal. But I would argue that, for example, the last 20 minutes against Liverpool, we were back to showing that, the form that we had in the first half of the Liverpool match, that sort of we lost for the first 15 minutes of the second half, we became dominant again. Similar to Chelsea. Like we closed that Chelsea game out by the 70-minute mark. Chelsea didn't look like they were ever going to score after that 70-minute. So it's still loosely there, but yeah, the parameters of it might have changed. You are quite right. Yeah, okay. So I think is everyone happy to move on to the next question then? Do you feel that your question... Does anyone in the chat want to tell us their thoughts on that particular issue about substitutes? Does anyone want to see more substitutions? Does anyone want us to turn into the NFL, where they just bring on a fresh new team every 30 seconds?
The one thing I will just kind of slightly caveat, is the substitute for head collisions. I think that is really good. That's been brought in. There's been a couple of games recently where I don't think it's been used appropriately, as in, like, when a player has been struck on the head, it's not been adopted. They've assessed a player was deemed okay, and then within 5-10 minutes we were brought straight back off. I can't remember that game. If anybody can remind me in the chat, or if you guys know, but I know it happened, and I think that needs to be looked at more stringently, really.
I agree, but that is an issue that is a wider changing of the modern game, because they're now talking about headers, aren't they? They're really trying to push this header thing about maybe headers should just not be part of the game anymore. I don't know.
And there's there's other rules, like in league in Australia. If a player is injured by foul play, then the person coming on, effectively an extra substitute, rolls onto the interchange. So if you have to use a substitute as a result of a foul by the other team, it doesn't count as one of your substitutes in effect.
You need to be careful with that though, Rich, because that could get used and you could get the dark arts going on there.
I think I'm in line, by the way. Scott in the comments has just made a point that perhaps he'd want to see something like this coming when Pep's not our manager, and I'm sort of inclined to agree, because
good comment.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, Rich, your first question, buddy boy.
Well, I was just thinking, after we've just played Chelsea, PSG, Liverpool. We've had, I'd say good results overall, considering we probably didn't rate Paris as important.
Brilliant results.
In many ways, we could have won all three. I think we were the better team 3 times. So my question was, and I was thinking, well, who's won and who's lost in that week? There are some players who perhaps cemented their place in the team. There are some players who didn't get a kick of the ball in that time. And, with Pep's tendency to pick players on momentum and players, to stay in the side when they're playing well, I was just thinking, who are the winners and losers? And, I know at least one of the losers made themselves a winner during the international break so far. So maybe, some people we might consider the losers for City are actually going to get themselves back in through international football. So I was just wondering your thoughts on that.
I'm going to answer this one last.
I'll jump in first then. I know the guy you mean. You talk about Torres. And you got to be careful with Torres, because I think Torres will get. I don't think Torres is trusted in the big games yet. Personally, Burnley, you'll see him roll out all day long. Liverpool, United, Chelsea, I don't think he trusts Torres at the moment. I think he wants to play this more defensive. Sounds really stupid, but this defensive sort of game, so he can go with a Grealish or a KDB or someone as a false 9 who can then trap back, where you won't get that so much from Torres, if you understand what I mean. Torres will just go full guns blazing, false 9. But for me, the biggest winners, Ronnie will kill me for this, but Rodri has absolutely stood up alongside Bernardo. For me, those two together are the big winners in this. Because those two together are like honey and porridge. They are like hail and paste. They go together. For me, those two are just fitting each other. I think Bernardo suits Rodri. I think Rodri is suiting Bernardo, because the pressure's not all on Rodri at the moment. Rodri can concentrate on his game because he knows he's got Bernardo that will come in and sweep up behind him. Because Rodri's just got Bernardo's got an engine like, he can just, he's literally the Duracell bunny. One of the biggest losers of these 3 games is Jack Grealish. Hate to say it, but I think he's done himself no favours. I think he's clearly shown, after a decent start, not a brilliant start, not a bad start, a decent start, that he has still got a long way to go to adapt into the Pep Guardiola style. At the end of the day, he was a big fish in a little pond at Villa. No disrespect to Villa, they are a big club, but he is now a tiddlywink in an ocean. He's not the main man. And he's got, forget the price tag. He didn't choose the price tag. But he has got to learn, and learn very quickly. The thing he has learned, he can trap back, but he's got to learn a lot more. But Pep's also got to learn to put him in his natural position and stop playing him as a bloody winger.
Okay. Ozzy?
I agree with mine in some respects.
Roll. Technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. Could have been killed.
You see, it's that push office.
I can jump in if
Yeah, go for it, Rich.
for a second.
Rich.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I fully agree on Rodri and Bernardo. I think Bernardo's been the big winner of this season. In terms of his play this season's been exceptional, and the way he beat about 17 Liverpool players and put Van Dijk on his backside was just magic. The big. I mean, to me, possibly the biggest winner along with those is actually Foden. I think Foden's come in and shown that he is, at an incredible level. He's come in and he's shown Jack Grealish on that left-hand side how to be faster, more direct. Can I just
give some quick clarification, because we've already had Pardo Oaks in the chat. I love the name, by the way. Just give some clarification on the Jack Grealish thing. What's specifically being said about Jack Grealish is we don't believe that he is currently being utilised to his best attributes on the left-hand side. He is a player brought into Manchester City to beat the low block. He is a player that you want to see driving into the central defence with the ball, and so far we've not been able to see that. Partially Grealish, partially Pep. Why is he playing so much on the left-hand side? Possibly because we don't really have we have similar options, but not better options on the left-hand side, other than Phil Foden. That's the main criticism of Grealish. Really, it isn't a slagging match against Grealish. It isn't a criticism of him as a player or ability wise. Nothing like that. It's just more about he's got to find his feet. That's all we're saying.
Yeah, it takes a long time to get used to a Pep side, and so I think it's not. It's just saying that Phil Foden is also an absolutely exceptional player. So. If he is, when he is running at the fullback, he's shown that. And I actually think Phil's been training on his pace, because I think he looked to me a yard faster against Liverpool than he looked against Liverpool last year. So I think he's been, working there. And I guess the other one I was going to add as a potential winner and loser is Laporte and Stones. Is that Laporte's got, and as I say that, Pardo Oaks has come in with that, but Laporte has got in, and I think he's going to be hard to shift now. And I think someone said, I'm not sure if it was one of you or read it online, but someone saying that pretty much Laporte's passing with his right foot is not far off as good as the passing by any centre back in the Prem with their best foot, and his left foot's exceptional. So that's I think going to be interesting to see, how long till Laporte gets rested and we see Stones and Diaz back together. And then let's not forget, by the way, that
John Stones is pretty comfortable with the ball at his feet, pushing forward as well. Let's not write John Stones off, please. The world's best centre half.
That's what I've been waiting for.
Can we not? He's digging in. I like Emerick Laporte. I love Emerick Laporte. Great player. For me, though, the best centre half partnership that we have is Stones and Diaz. Sorry to say it.
Can I just say, Ronnie Beaver has just put Rich. He has employed a sprint coach, apparently.
Yeah.
Because I have noticed that he has picked up.
Yeah.
Well, we've got Ozzy back now from North Yorkshire. You want to try again, Paul?
Yeah, sorry, man. I don't know what happened. Just suddenly got kicked out.
The bus went past.
I think Rob's so excited about naming his 2 losers or 3 losers that probably he accidentally kicked you off or something.
Yeah, that's a possible, isn't it? Really. Thanks, Rob. So where was I? I was going to say that I was kind of agreeing with Martin, and I didn't agree with him because of his comments about Bernardo Silva and Rodri. I think Bernardo Silva, yes, definitely. He's been definitely one of the biggest winners. But for me, even though Rodri's had some good moments and he's had some good games, I actually think that he hasn't proven himself. He hasn't proven himself to be the DM that we need going forward, and to have Silva having to kind of bail him out. To me, that's just not good enough. And I've been one of Rodri's biggest fans. Like, I said, give him time. Give him, but he's he's been here for quite a while now, and he just still hasn't got this. And I keep hearing some people say, "Well, he's only 25. He's still got years to learn." You know, you're supposed to be a top quality player. You know, at 25, he should be able to do some of the basics, and sometimes he just doesn't. He doesn't track back enough. You know, he's not great at dark arts like Fernandinho. I know that can take time, but I just don't see it. So for me, I think he has been a bit of a loser for me, if I'm honest.
Wow.
I yeah.
Wow.
You'll
Yeah,
hear
I
more
thought-
on this when I get my turn.
I thought
But,
he was exceptional against Chelsea. I thought.
No, Rich, don't get me
I
wrong.
concentrated on him. His positioning was brilliant.
Don't get me wrong,
You know,
Rich. He has had
continually.
some good games, but for me, when you're having to throw Bernardo Silva in there to basically, you know, make sure that, you know, to keep him in place and to try and get him to do his job, that's just not good enough. You know, we
But
need
I don't
Silva getting forward.
Do you not think we should let him do his job, though? Because I know what you're saying. I get what you're saying, but do you not think as fans we're falling into... Because we do it with all players, don't we? All of our greats. Because the next one who comes after KDB, we will compare to KDB.
Well, I
And
won't,
I
because
just think
KDB's bang
sometimes
average, mate.
I'm
we've got
not
to let them evolve.
I'm not just
into their
comparing
own-
him. I'm not just comparing him to the, you know, the likes of Fernandinho. I'm comparing him to other players that play in his position in the Premier League that are doing a better job than him, that are playing at clubs that are, you know, are below us right now. So
yeah, I have to say, I can't agree. I think Rodri, you know, last season out of any top European league in any club, Rodri put together more successful passes than any other player. I think he is so much more integral to City and playing well. And it's no surprise to me that our worst games at the end of the season were when Rodri got dropped or lost form or injury, whatever happened at the end of the season. I think, and I don't think Bernardo's playing to offset Rodri's weakness. I think City play such a fluid football that, you know, Cancelo will go into midfield and someone has to cover at left back, and Rodri will go and cover at full back. And he did against Chelsea, both right and left covering full back. Bernardo then slides into that position, and it's not really covering Rodri. It's because Cancelo's gone into attack, Rodri's gone to cover Cancelo, and Bernardo's gone to cover Rodri. That is top football. It's not covering for one's weakness. It's actually covering for the strengths of our fullbacks to push up. So I think if you actually watch some of those things, I don't think that's a fair comment to say Bernardo covers Rodri. I think Bernardo is a tactically astute, brilliant team player. And Bernardo is effectively covering the attacking play of someone else who's gone in to fill another position. And he is making the shape, you know, and the shape back.
Well, I'm gonna move on a little bit because, you know, Rob's got to have his say, and I know he'll, you know, he's got his thoughts on Rodri, so I'll move on a bit. I'm going to say the other player that I think that it's not had a great impact is KDB. Now, I'm not blaming him that he's not working hard enough or anything like that, but I do think that he's just not in form. Whether Pep is just playing him to get him back in form or whether he has got a niggle of some sort, but he just hasn't had the best run of games lately, and I felt like the team have had to carry him a few times. There's times where I think he should have been took off for his own good. So for me, you know, I do think that, you know, for his own good, he needs a rest. You know, and somebody like Jack Grealish needs to come into that position, you know, and prove his worth. I know we've already talked about Jack Grealish, so I won't go too much into him. The other player that I'm going to mention is Raheem Sterling. You know, there's a lot of issues at the moment going around with Sterling. You know, I'm still a fan of his. I still think, you know, as we've commented on before, I think he's missing that striker to pair with him. I think, you know, if we had a striker, he would be a completely different player. But sadly, you know, he's losing out to Grealish. And when he is coming on, he's not fantastic. So, you know, sadly, he's not doing brilliant for me at the moment. The other player I was going to say was Foden as an up. I think Foden has been phenomenal. I'm so pleased for him because I want to see him play more and more games. I want him thrown into the bigger games as well. going forward because he was phenomenal against Liverpool. Absolutely brilliant. I won't go too much because I think you when I was missing in action, you commented quite a bit, Rich. So I think you stole a lot of my comments.
I love the way 10 seconds.
All right.
I'm going to go to Robin.
But I am
Right.
going to let Robin
Stayed
start.
there for team since.
Can I go now? Can I go now?
Go on, go.
Go on, Rob.
I've built up a little bit of goodwill in the last 10 minutes. People aren't hating on me as usual. And hopefully I don't ruin that now. You've asked me to state the winners and the losers. There aren't any losers, mate. We went to Leicester and took 3 points. We went to Chelsea and took 3 points. We went to Liverpool and took a point. Let's get our heads screwed back on a second there, boys. That ain't bad. Okay, right, anyway, so now I'll go up to reality. Right, winners and losers.
That's why I kept quiet.
Winners and losers. Right, okay, I'm going to start with Ferran Torres. I've said this a million times before. Ferran Torres is a Ballon d'Or winner, a future Ballon d'Or winner. However, he's not going to win that Ballon d'Or at Manchester City Football Club.
No.
Game time or no game time, I don't think that he inherently is going to change much this season. So you either persist with him and hope he comes good before the end of the season, or you write him off as a project. And I'm not sure that Pep's going to persist with him. Okay, I think that's fair to say. I think he'll come in and out, and he'll be frustrating here, there, and everywhere. The other one, okay, winner and the loser, Kevin De Bruyne. His form has been poor. No, hold on. Don't mention Gundogan, Aki, or Mahrez. I'm not going to. They've got to play for me to get mentioned.
I'm glad you could read that because I was like, eh?
Okay, let me talk. Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne is a winner and a loser. He's a loser because he's been playing on an injury since the Champions League final, and it's going to take him until Christmas till we see world-class Kevin De Bruyne back. Let's not mess around here for a second. Kevin De Bruyne is a world-class midfielder, and he is phenomenal at his peak. Give him time. He will come good. Has he been sloppy? Has he been a yard off the pace? Yes, but we've still managed to come through those games with big, big results. Right, so I'm going to talk about an individual game now. So I'm going to talk about two individual games now. The first game is the Champions League game against Paris Saint-Germain. The caveat to that is that it was game 2 of 6 games in a group. Doesn't matter in the long term. However, Rodri, Laporte and Diaz were all at fault for the second goal. Lionel Messi's goal. Now, there are some people out there who will blindly say that, oh, well, he scored that goal because he's world class. No, it wasn't a great goal. There was space that he was able to exploit in between the midfield and the defence, and our midfield and defence did not cover themselves in glory. If you go back and watch that clip of the space that he went into, it wasn't an amazing amount of space. It wasn't a David Silva manoeuvre where he's found space where it doesn't exist. We were too wide open defensively, and he capitalised on that. So for that game specifically, they were losers. I would like to point the finger now at Ederson in the Liverpool game especially. Again, Mo Salah, great goal. His run, taking a mick out of a defence, planting them on their backsides was great. Fantastic. Well done, Mo Salah. The actual finish, my grandmother, because they're saved, and she's been dead for a year. It was straight across the goalkeeper. There is absolutely no way, shape on this planet that a shot stopper would have let that in. It was an easy savable finish, I'm telling you. Now, you can shoot me down, tell me that it wasn't. And I know Ederson's not in the team for his shot stopping ability. But when it comes to certain games, you have to question whether, like for example, for me, Ederson is in the team when we've got a striker. Absolutely. If Haaland was in this team, Ederson all day, baby. Because he will just pump balls up to Haaland. Haaland will take the piss out of their defence and score 5 goals in a game. Liverpool first half. If we had a striker, we would have been 5-0 up. Don't have a striker, so the whole team's a loser for that one, for not having a striker. But yeah, Ederson, work on your shot stopping, mate. You've just said that Phil Foden employed a coach to work on his pace and his speed. Ederson, work on your bloody shot stopping, mate. Seriously, because Without a striker in that team, you will stand out like a sore thumb in the same way that the next guy stands out like a sore thumb, Raheem Sterling. Raheem Sterling is an amazing winger. 17-18 season, he was an incredible player. We wouldn't be writing David Silva off like this. We wouldn't be writing Sergio Aguero off like this. Pay the man some more respect, please. Put a striker into that team. Raheem Sterling's back at his best. So he's a winner and a loser. And the last guy is Rodri. Rodri. We went to Chelsea, took 3 points. We went to Leicester, took 3 points. We got a point at Anfield because of Rodri. Let's not forget, gentlemen. Let's not write that guy off. That sliding save at the end when Ederson was changing the batteries in his Game Boy Advance. Yeah, Rodri was still switched on. Rodri was still awake. Is he the greatest DM in the world? No. Is he Fernandinho Mark II? No. Is he Joshua Kimmich? No. Give the guy time. Give the guy time for the love of whatever you believe in. Because that's earned him a lot of credit in the bank, that has. That has earned him a lot. That last-ditch save against Liverpool, surely that has built him a lot of credit in the bank. So let's not write him off too much. Daddy Beaver, on a regular day, I'm totally with you. Day for day, match for match, prime for Fernandinho versus prime Rodri. Rodri is not even fit to polish his boots. Yeah? But he's what we've got to work with right now, so we've got to back him. Who's next? Riyad Mahrez, he's a loser because he's not featured. Ilkay Gundogan, not featured. Bernardo Silva is the hardest working footballer in the world, big winner, but that should go without saying because Bernardo Silva is just Bernardo Silva. He is irreplaceable. Yeah. He is the greatest player at our club as an all-rounder. He's not the greatest individual talent. He's not the greatest goal scorer, but for an all-rounder, he is in a league of his own. Without Bernardo Silva, we're dead in the water. And I will say something as well. You're talking, Martin, you were talking specifically about Bernardo Silva coming back and covering the defence. Rich, you were talking about going forward. How many driving runs has Bernardo Silva done this season? He is the linchpin for our attack and for our defence. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget that. He's doing it all. Phil Foden is undroppable. He's my last player. Big winner. I already thought it was undroppable anyway. But if Phil Foden is out of this team for any reason other than broken legs, it's a joke. Phil Foden is undroppable. I think that the Diaz and Laporte partnership is a little bit of a loser. I'm not going to get too dramatic, but it's a little bit of a loser. I think a fit John Stones is better than a fit Laporte on the right hand. Obviously, if it was like he's left and he's right, but if it's Stones and Diaz, for me, it's better than Stones and Laporte or Diaz and Laporte. So that's it. That's all I've got to say. I don't think I've said anything too wildly controversial. I don't think I've upset too many people. But that's the way I see it.
Yeah.
Anyone in the chat or anyone on the stream want to come back at me and tell me I'm an absolute whatever? No? Okay.
No. Should we move on to my question?
No, you've got a chance to answer now.
I can't disagree with anything you've said because I think you're spot on. I think you're right on Rodri. I think you're right on Bernardo. I think you're right on Mahrez. And yeah, that might send all the fanboys over, and I do apologise. You know, can't wait till Newcastle get Mahrez in January. No, I'm joking before anyone starts.
Big money move for him. What are you talking about, Ryan?
100 million. It's already done. 5-year deal.
I'd love to know, what, because I think Bernardo has hit this season in better form than we've seen, in better form than he's had at any time at City, and he's always been a good player for us. I know few people were worried. I don't think I was because his attitude's always been great, but he wanted out, and we obviously thought he was leaving. Nothing came in and he's staying. So I'd love to know what has changed that has suddenly, given him, this new lease of form that's taking him to new heights. because he's been incredible. And as I think Pep said of him this week, he's up there with anyone in the world at the moment. People are going on about Mo Salah being the best player in the world, or well, actually not people.
Yeah, but
Scousers.
they're just delusional, Rich.
but
The fanatical cultists.
Bernardo is genuinely.
I'll just elaborate on Rich's point a little bit. The last 4 Premier Leagues, Manchester City have won 3 of them. Liverpool have won 1. Yet we keep repeatedly getting told that Henderson, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Andy Robertson, and Virgil van Dijk are the best in the Premier League. Well, they've won 1 out of the last 4. We've won 3 out of the last 4. So how is that possible? Are they then saying that they don't have an effective strike force? But I thought that Salah, Mane, and Firmino were and the one with the stupid teeth, whatever he's called, were the best in the Premier League as well. So which is it, Liverpool fans? You've won 1 out of the last 4. We've won 3 out of the last 4. But apparently all your players are better. So were they not performing? Are they underperforming? Is the shirt too heavy for them? Is the Anfield,
and the manager's
you know what I mean? So either they're talking waffle, or they need to light more candles because the world's against them. Pick one. What is it?
And
I don't know what you've got against candles.
Rob, you forgot that their manager is miles better than ours. Their crowd.
Yeah, and I tell you what, the trophies bear that out because 3 Premier Leagues versus 1. 1 Premier League is clearly better than 3. I went to school. I know maths. 1 is a bigger number than 3. Deluded idiots. Right, move on. Next question. Whose question is it?
Mine.
Oh, no, it's mine.
Liverpool.
It's my question. Woohoo.
Am I go on.
Wait, no, you've had a question.
I've not.
Yeah, you have. You had the first question.
When were we starting?
Oh, head's gone from mine. Don't even know.
I had no question at the beginning. I've not said my question at all.
You've got 2 questions and you've said one of them.
I've not.
All right, and have your question then. I'm sure we'll all sit here and answer the question again. Come on, nobody minds.
I've never mentioned my question because remember, I wasn't here at the beginning. I fell off.
Go on, give us your question again. I'm sure everyone won't mind us just saying the same answers again.
As a Newcastle fan now, Martin, we assumed that the whole Newcastle thing was your question.
Oh, was that my question, that one? Yeah. My question follows on to Rich's question quite nicely, actually. Yes, we've had a fantastic week. Rob is spot on. 7 points. 3 tough away games is not to be underestimated. So, in January, we've been linked with Haaland, been linked with Nunez, we've been linked with Vlahovic. Do Manchester City go out and get a striker in January, or do we keep our powder dry for the summer? Because we've just shown that at the moment, the false 9 is kind of working. I'm not going to say fully working because we have missed chances where we'd have probably cleared the game. 7 points with Leicester, Chelsea and Liverpool, the away games, Chris. So, yeah, that's my question. Do Manchester City go and get a forward in January?
Who's that to, Martin?
Start with you. Yeah.
No, what are you starting with?
Start with you, Oz.
The problem is that who are you going to get in January? I can't think of anybody you're going to get in January. No one's going to sell one of their top strikers halfway through. So it's a kind of for me. I don't want City just to go out and get a striker for the sake of it, because I don't see who you could even get. Like, we talked about Danny Ings, didn't we? You're not going to get a player like Danny Ings in January, and even if you are, they're going to want top dollar for him. So I think you can look and say, start negotiating with the likes of Haaland and others, Nunez, if that's who City are looking at now. Get the ball rolling because come the summer, it's going to be an absolute fighting battle for the likes of Haaland, especially. So I'd say start the talks, get them going, but I just don't think we're going to get able to get anybody in January. As much as we may need to have a striking cover, But even that, I can't see who we get in through the door.
Okay. No, but I'll be honest, because you got like Vlahovic, who's turned down, ended all contract negotiations with Fiorentina. They're gonna want the money. I'm just thinking of scenarios like that, really.
Yeah, but they're going to want 70, 80 plus million for him, and that money you want to use in the summer. Do you know what I mean? So are you going to blow your wad now and get this player who, he's had a good time in Italy, but it's one season that he's had a really good run. So are you really going to risk 70, 80 million on a player like that?
No, good point.
I don't think you are. If you could get a player for 30, 40 million through the door who's decent quality, like a Danny Ings, I'd say, yeah, look at that. You're not going to get it in January. It's not going to happen.
Okay. Rich, are we keeping our powder dry, or are we going to blow our wad early in January?
I think we go for it. I think, like we did with, I think, Dzeko, who's the best true number 9, old-fashioned number 9, not counting, because Sergio, I think, is
I'm imagining Chris in the comment.
Not true number 9, but I think Dzeko was brilliant. We signed him in January. He made a real difference, and I think we need to do the same. I think we have that risk in the big games at the end of the season that not having a striker could cost us winning the Champions League or winning the league if we don't have that option to take our chances. And that could cost us 50, 60, 70 million. So I think it's a gamble worth taking. I think what we need to do is we need to get hard negotiating with Raiola. We need to find out, will Haaland come or not? I'm not saying if we get Haaland in January. If we see he's still playing games with us, or he's, putting his feet in 5 or 6 different camps, then we would be sensible to think maybe we're not going to get him. And we should then definitely, unquestionably go and sign whoever's second or third on our list. And by Haaland, I guess Mbappe would be the same. If you had a chance at getting him, you'd go for that. But I think we have to sign a striker. So the only decision is, are you signing a striker who is going to be your big number 9 for the next 5-10 years, i.e. a Haaland? Or are you, signing your second choice is going to do that? Or are you signing a stopgap? But, if it's a stopgap, we should go and do it, because we have to have that as an option. Every manager we play against, is setting up their team. And if they are working against our false 9, we have to have another option to change the game. If Delap had been fit and he'd had some games and, and Torres had really got used to it, maybe we could go for it. But I think it would be a foolish mistake to risk 70 million, not spend 50, in my view.
Okay.
And I actually think, I think you're looking at January through pre-pandemic eyes as well, Ozzy. I think financially the state of the game in Europe and the state of a lot of clubs, there are clubs who, if they aren't up in that top 4, will have to sell, and have to sell soon to save the club. So I think there will be more players available, and at not quite a stupid price as in previous Januaries, because clubs' existence will depend on, on getting funds in.
Rich, name them. Name those players.
I suspect we could get either from, probably signed from Benfica or from Fiorentina in January. No problem. I think if Spurs are down in 11th or 10th or 9th, could well be. I think they would have little choice but to sell Kane. So, I think I'm not saying I want him, Ozzy. I'm just saying, sir, I think that's the reality.
Sir, can I put this train back on the tracks yet? We're not signing Harry Kane ever. Please. We're not signing Harry Kane ever. Because I will sit on the M6 with a shotgun and shoot his tyres if he even tries to get into Manchester. It ain't happening.
Won't get the petrol
it is not happening.
It isn't our
Let's
choice.
Let's move on from Harry Kane, right?
You can go Kane, no.
All right, Martin. Shh.
Martin.
Adults are talking now. Right. A minute ago, you asked me questions, winners or losers. Liam Delap was the biggest loser so far. because a fit Liam Delap at the start of this season, and none of this waffle would even be talking. Whether he's good enough or not, he could play 15 games in all competitions between the start of the season and until Christmas, and we would have found out either way. Should we have signed Danny Ings? Yes, we've got 30 million in the bank. It wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world, and it would have meant 3 points against Southampton. Let's get Liam Delap fit. Let's give him 6 games in all competitions. So I'm looking at Leipzig and Bruges, West Ham game in the Cup, and a couple of Premier League games that won't really change the course of our season on the whole if we played Liam Delap or left an empty shirt. So he's got no pressure on his shoulders. Let's see what he can do. And then at the earliest available opportunity, spend every single penny in the Sheikh's bank account on getting Haaland to the club. Because whoever signs Haaland is dominating Europe and the English League for the next decade. It's that simple. I've heard some waffle in the chat that we don't spend that sort of wages. Football's changed. The cheese has moved. Anyone who doesn't think that we won't spend that wage is deluded. It is not 1983. It is not even 2011 when we were saying let's try and get a guy for 80 grand a week. If Haaland costs 500 grand, that's what we'll bloody well pay, because he's worth it in shirt sales and he's worth it in the trophy return. Simple as. Haaland or bust. Harry Kane can go spit. He's not even good enough to play in the Premier League. He's bang average. Let's give Liam Delap a chance when he actually gets fit. Yes, I know. The bloody caveat I said was that I know Liam Delap's not fit yet. But when he is fit, there's 2.5 months until the transfer window opens. So let's give him 6 bloody games. Let's give him 6 games and see what he can do in that time. And like I said, I'll say it once more. The second the transfer window opens and the second that Haaland is available to be bought, throw every bloody penny this club has at buying him. Because if Haaland goes anywhere else in the Premier League, the club that he goes to, if I know Chelsea have bought Lukaku, but they don't seem to care about wages or money. If Haaland goes to Chelsea, they dominate domestically and in Europe for the next decade. We have to be that team. He is that important. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care if anyone says that he's not the starter player, that he suits our club or anything like that. No, Sean, this is not a meltdown. It's just a straight fact. Haaland has the pace over 10 yards or 60 yards to work perfectly in our team. He scores goals that we don't score, and that is exactly what we need. Haaland or bust. Sod your Kanes, sod your bloody Nunos and your bloody João Felixes and all this other crap that you're suggesting. Because Manchester City are the biggest boys, the big boys and the biggest players in the world. So let's not settle for second or third best. Let's get target numero uno, Haaland or nothing.
Will someone think of the cheese? Keeps moving.
Please think of
Seriously, this is not a laughing matter. This is not a joke. This is not Rob's head's gone or anything like that. It's Haaland or nothing.
I tell you, Rob, with that passion, you should start fundraising to sign him.
I'll just say, just as a side note there, Priti Patel is a Conservative Member of Parliament. I couldn't give a toss whether you personally vote Conservative, Labour, Liberal Democrats, Green Party, UKIP, or any of the other crap, pointless political parties in this country. But she is a disgusting joke of a human being. She is a child of immigrants and she doesn't want any immigrants to be in this country. What does that say? Absolute head's gone. And this gentleman that I've got a picture of on the stream was arrested today for merely voicing his concerns. That is exactly what we are against in this country. I was in the armed forces. I believe in freedom of speech. A guy thinks she's a fascist. He has every right to say she's a fascist without being arrested. So fuck Priti Patel, fuck the Conservatives. Back to the football.
Go on, Rob.
We're with you.
It gets political.
And this party political broadcast was brought to you by the Mancunian Way.
Next.
So
I want to sign Haaland now. I want to scrap the transfer window. I am sold. That was almost Churchillian.
tell you, I'm waiting for Boris to say a speech like that. That was Churchill-esque. Anyway, move on to the. I just think
get Haaland. That is the be all and end all. But we need to get that moving. We need to start having those talks. We need to make sure we are we can't be passive, and we should go for him in. We should
Spot
go
on,
for him in
Mitch.
January.
Well,
gotta
Sean
put
Goat has come out and saying he's going to do everything he can to get his him through the door. He's going to speak to his dad.
Yeah.
So come on, Sean.
Listen, and Andrew W's made a point there. If Riola wants 800k a week, fine. At some point, Andrew, especially now that Newcastle have had a takeover, our pay structure is going to have to start again anyway. We're going to have to get a blank piece of paper out in the next couple of years.
Newcastle are
because
gonna check.
our wage structure is going to have to change anyway.
You
So,
look
why,
when
so why not make it change with the future greatest striker to ever play football?
Yeah,
Full stop.
spot on, because
And
I
I
want-
don't-
Andrew, I hate the idea of it as well. I hate the idea. If you hear me on a regular week, I want to be in Division 2, mate. I don't like this success because it's changed my club beyond recognition. Yeah? But we've got to go with it because that's where we're at, mate. That's where we're
I'm
at,
gonna
so we've got to
say,
go with it.
on that, Rob,
It's gonna
you're
happen.
right.
It's gonna happen anyway. Let's just do it. Bite the bloody bullet and get on with it.
When
Because
Manchester
other clubs
City
are going to do it. If Newcastle are at the table now, they're going to do it. Chelsea are going to do it. United already bloody well do it. And they do it without winning a sodding trophy. At least we're winning trophies doing it. But if we get Ireland, we win all the trophies we've already won and more for the next bloody decade. We've got to get over ourselves and just bloody well do it.
Yeah, because
Manchester-
Newcastle won't hesitate when they get their chance.
No, Manchester City had to up the transfers, up the fees and the wages and everything when we got took over. Newcastle are starting at a later point. They're going to have to offer 2-3. They will have to offer more wages than what we would, because remember, they're working at the No Champions League. So they're going to have to offer incentives.
Yeah.
Incentives
Premier-
using
They
that.
also have to pay for transfers.
Well, we're
as
getting
well.
off. We're getting way off. So, right, let's get back on it. We've got the questions. Right, is it my turn now for the question?
Yeah. Go on, Churchill.
No, I've calmed down now. I've got my point across. Everyone's
Got off
calm.
his soapbox.
Everyone's calm. Nobody's called me an absolute idiot in the chat for once.
Well, you're getting applauded. There's tears of emotion
That's
and
fine,
excitement
that's fine.
in the chat.
Right, so my first question, gentlemen in the Skype call and gentlemen and ladies and Apache attack helicopters in the chat. From the game at Anfield, honestly, which Liverpool players would you swap from their starting lineup? So let's not talk about substitutes or any of that blah, blah, blah. From their starting lineup against us at the weekend, which of their players would improve the City team? And vice versa, the deluded Scousers who think they've got 1 to 11 the best players in the world, right? Which players of ours would they take? And let's not be basic about this and just assume that KDB, whatever, because that's boring. Let's look at it. Let's look at the meat and bones of it. Which player in that Liverpool team would improve our starting 11? And if you say Mo Salah, I'm ending the call and ending the stream because it's boring. But if you do say Mo Salah, at least give me a bit of a good reason.
Well, I was just going to quickly jump in and say I'd look at Andy Robertson because we haven't got left back properly. So that would yeah, but no, that he's good on his day. He has improved Liverpool massively. I think he really is a good left back.
Sean, you're a very naughty boy, Sean. I'm going to write you 100 lines of Kyle Walker is the best right back in world football. I'm an idiot for suggesting Trent Alexander-Arnold is. Naughty, Sean. Sorry, Ozzy.
It's all right. I totally agree with you. I don't know what Sean's thinking. Yeah, I mean, give me an argument to say why he wouldn't be a good player for City. I can't think of one, really. I think he goes forward brilliantly, and I think he tracks back brilliantly. He does his job, and he's done it
so much better than their right back.
No, you say that, but there was a piece that Sam Lee did before everyone goes. So Sam did, and Cancelo has actually been shown as the most attacking fullback successfully in the Premier League so
far.
far.
But he can't defend, Marty.
No, I know. I get
all round going forward.
Well, this is an hand grenade, isn't it? Look at them, they're arguing. Carry on. Carry on, and then eventually I'll get round to smacking Chris Baker in the face for saying VVD. And Nathan Clark, I'm not even coming near your Jordan Henderson over Bernardo Silva because that's an absolute heads gone.
Listen, if Chris is saying VVD, he can go to his local GP and get some cream for that. Listen, Ozzy, listen, I get what you're saying. Yes, he can't defend for Toffee. I totally agree with you. And he showed that on Sunday. But Andy Robertson, for me, you need to get a left back that can attack and can defend. Because one thing I read earlier last week that no fullback at Manchester City needs to know how to defend. What's a load of garbage? Of course they do. Of course they need to know how to defend. But on the other side of that, you got to remember Rich's point earlier on. When the fullback goes, somebody drops in, which is where Rodri goes when people do it. So, for Andy Robertson, I am 50-50 on it. I really am. Because what I would love to... Think of it this way. Would Andy Robertson fit into another Premier League manager's plans? Yes. Without Pep Guardiola? Yes. Would Cancelo fit into another manager's plans if he's not Pep Guardiola? No.
But can we stick with the original question, whether it's...
No, but I think Martin's making it... Yeah.
No, I know. Well, it is the original question.
Well, because you're talking about other clubs, other managers. We're just talking about the differences between City and
because you can't. No, but it's not like Rob said. It's not as simple as just because everyone would go, well, Salah and Virgil van Dijk, and you just throw them in.
No, but I'm making an argument here of why.
Cancelo suits Pep, but he wouldn't suit another Premier League team.
And you don't think Andy Robertson would suit City's system at all?
Yes.
He can't do that, is what you're saying, basically.
I'd like to see whether his passing...
I'm not sure.
Andy Robertson...
Tell you what, this is really put the cat amongst the pigeons, this one.
I'd love to see if his passing's good enough. But Martin has made one very good point.
It does happen now and again.
If I try to look outside a purely City hat, I think you've got Alisson and Ederson, two very good keepers. I think Ederson, as an offensive player, is better than Alisson. Alisson, is not as good at passing. His distribution's good for a keeper, but it's not as good as Ederson. And he will make mistakes, but he's a better shot stopper than Ederson. So I would say Alisson is a better keeper for Liverpool and Ederson's a better keeper for City. Who's better overall? And I would say there are a number of cases like, I think Rodri's probably better for City, but I think Fabinho's probably better for Liverpool. Because they need someone slightly quicker in that position. They don't need someone as much about retaining possession as City do. So I think you've got a lot of players where City and Liverpool have players, Rodri, Fabinho, Alisson, and Ederson, who are, I would say, fairly similar in ability. Could the Liverpool versions learn to play the City way? Could the City versions learn to play the Liverpool way? I don't know. That would be a question. But the question was, who would we have now? And as much as it's a boring answer, I think you have to look at places where we think we have a weakness. And to be honest, that's really number 9 and left back potentially.
But Liverpool got 9.
I think you'd have to. Well, they've got goal scorers.
You could quite easily put Mo Salah at number 9, Martin.
Yes, I know, but he's not a technical number 9, is that?
Right. Anyway, okay. So
I didn't say Salah. I just said a number 9.
Yeah, you did say number 9. Yeah. I apologise for answering that for you. For me, okay. Manchester City with a striker in the team, I wouldn't swap a single player. Manchester City without a striker in the team, I'm afraid that the player who would swap is Alisson for Ederson. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. If Alisson was in our net on Saturday and Ederson was in their net, we would have won that game. Because Salah wouldn't have scored.
I think that's a little bit unfair.
It is a little bit unfair. It is a little bit unfair. It is a little bit unfair. But this is purely based on this game on Saturday. Purely based on the game on Saturday. If the goalkeepers were in the opposite nets, we would have won. And I'm reaching, by the way. Please don't bury me in this coffin of I want Alisson at City, because I don't. I don't want Alisson at City. I love Ederson. I want Ederson at City, and I'm glad that we've got Ederson and they've got Alisson.
Can I slightly
in the big picture
flip this, Rob?
Yep.
because we're talking about players that we're missing our position and everything. What about Jota? Because I think Jota has been really good for Liverpool, and again, he's taken out Firmino at the moment, hasn't he? For them, Jota is their new kind of false nine. I think he could do a job for us. Can anyone disagree with me on this?
No, I do disagree with you because he doesn't get in our team over who we've got. He doesn't get in before KDB, doesn't get in before Foden, doesn't get in before Bernardo
I wouldn't even
Silva.
put him in before.
Just ask you a question, Rob. Do you say that Jota doesn't get in ahead of Grealish as false nine?
Impossible to say because based on that Saturday game, Grealish is not the answer at false nine. If it was if he'd been playing 6 games at false nine, then maybe different. But purely on the back of that game, then yeah, maybe.
We haven't really nailed down
fed the dog.
false nine, though, have we? So that's why I'm kind of putting Jota in there because
Purely on that game, Ozzy, you're probably right. Right.
Yeah, no.
That's what I'm basing this on. It's on that game.
Looking at the comment, my point on the Liverpool derby number 9 is, like very much us, we can put Sterling, Torres, and all, and Gabriel Jesus as a 9, but they're not an Aguero. When I mean a number 9, I'm talking a Haaland, a Harry Kane, someone who is a natural out-and-out number 9. And neither Salah, Mane, or even Firmino or Jota are number 9s. And I'm going to say one thing I will say on this. It's a great question. If you look at who has totally dominated the Premier League for the last 4 or 5 years, it's been 2 teams, Manchester City and Liverpool, who have broken every points record going. And if you look, when we've done it, there hasn't really been an out-and-out striker in either team. It's a really weird stat you're looking at.
Martin, that was a little bit scarce of you. City have broken every record going, not Liverpool.
No, I'm talking. Yeah, no,
Again. Even though I am a common man, 3 is more than 1 domestic Premier League trophies. Correct. Every single player at City is better than every single player at Liverpool. Full stop.
Yeah. No, I get your point.
Okay, so I don't think we're going to get a whole round of questions in. But does anyone really want to ask their question?
My question can wait for another time because my question's a bit mischievous.
Yeah, I've got a question, but I think it's one for another time.
Well, someone's got to ask a question. Rich, tell you what, let's have Rich. Rich, you ask your second question, buddy.
Yeah, well, I guess mine is pretty, based on this week, and that's, we had a really, when we did our show back in, August, we talked about, a really hard start to the season, and, and it's hard to disagree that in our first 7 games we've had possibly our 4 hardest away games because Spurs, not because they're one of the 4 best teams, but we have a bad record against them away. So I think we could argue we've had our 4 hardest away games. We came back without any pre-season, much less pre-season than any other team. We were underprepared, and yet we've come through those 7 games when I think, I'm pretty sure that Rob, you were worried we might only have about 3 points at this stage after those 7 games.
Whoa. Don't put words in my mouth, Sonny Jim. There's video evidence of what I said. There's video evidence of what I said.
There's nothing wrong with a bit of
my granddad wants a word with you, Sonny Jim.
There's nothing wrong with a bit of exaggeration. But we've come through that. We've gone to those 4 away games and, we lost at Spurs, but, I think we'd have lost at home against Norwich that first game almost. We were so unprepared. So we've had a really good start. We're 2 off the lead. To be fair, Chelsea have had a hard start, and and even Liverpool have had to play both us and Chelsea, admittedly, though, at home. So
yes,
we're now
they've got to come to us. All of them have got to come to us.
Yeah, I'll make my point. Hang on. I'll make my point, Rob, in a minute, and you know what I said to you earlier about that.
Let Rich. Come on, this is Rich, mate. Come on.
So outside those teams, over at Salford, they've had basically the bottom 6 teams they've had to play. They've had it really as it haven't played a proper football team yet. So we're favourites. We're odds on now with the bookies. What do you actually believe we're now favourites? What do the other teams have to do to stop us? And what do we have to do to ensure that we just keep our feet on their heads and make it 4 leagues in 5 years?
Sorry for laughing. That was the longest way around to that question I've ever heard. That's what I was laughing at. I do apologise. I said this to Rob earlier, privately. The away results are brilliant. You look at our away record the last 2 or 3 years, that's not a problem. It's at home we do the silly mess ups. The Leeds and the Southampton, we do it. We are notorious for messing up at home. The United, listen, we will get beat by Man United at home because we do every single time with the Ollie tactic. Counter-attack, ball over the top, and our defences flip-flop all over the show, and they score on the counter. That is, Rob will tell you, I will write you the Manchester Derby at the Etihad right now because it has happened the last 2 or 3 years. Same thing. We have to be more clinical at home. We have to put the game to bed early and get it done. There are times where we go up against, and there's this expectation of we just turn up, we steamroll 4-5. And that comes off the pitch as well as on it. Because there are fans who are sitting there after 25 minutes and you're not 3-0 up and the moaning that is going on and the groaning, and that reverberates down to the playing field. Because they can hear it. And I just think we've got to get what we did.
I'm not moaning about the players.
Home. No, I'm not. I'm just thinking.
I'm not even moaning about the scoreline, mate. I'm happy to get beat 6-0 every week. Don't care.
You know what I mean, though, don't you, Rob?
It's not why I'm a City fan, Martin.
No, but Rob, you know what I mean by that, don't you?
Yeah, I do know what you mean by it. Again, I've got a very big thing. I've got a rant to go on, so I'm going to let Ozzy go on this one first before my rant ruins it all again. Go on.
Oh God, I'm just a warmer packed, aren't I? Okay. Well, I could go with Chris Baker's and just say, let's go out and buy Harry Kane. That'll do it.
It's not that waffle merchant. Is he still here?
I was about to make him a mod, but forget it.
Yeah, but I agree with you, Martin. We've got to be a lot more clinical at home. It's proven over the last couple of seasons we're just not at home enough. Yeah, but I think for me, it's too early. I think we'll know more by the end of December where we are in the league and who's our real competition. At the moment, for me, my concerns would still be Liverpool and Chelsea going forward. Give it until after Christmas, and I think we'll know a little bit more. We've got an easier run now, fixture-wise. Not massively easy. I'm not going to discount like the likes of West Ham, because they are, a better team under David Moyes than they were. But it's still games we should be winning. So if my answer the question, Rich, no, I don't. Just because the bookies are making us favourites, I still don't think we are.
Do you think Liverpool, bearing in mind they're going to lose Mane and Salah for 4 or 5 weeks in the new year, and bearing in mind over Christmas I think they have to play Leicester, Chelsea, and I think one of the other top sides, I can't remember who it is, over Christmas. They have to play them in 3 games in a week against top sides. I think at least 2 of them are away. They lose Salah and Mane then in the new year and Keita. Do you think they can sustain that? They're dependent on playing the same 11 every week. So I don't know. I think they've got big problems coming now.
They have lost the likes of Mane and Salah to the their nations before and still managed to kind of, come close or win the league. So I'm not going to completely write Liverpool out. Yes, they've got an interesting, few games coming up, especially over December, like you said, and they are going to lose some key players, but they can still make that up, after that tournament is finished. So I just don't think it's a full conclusion still.
Oh yeah.
But it's
We're
an
not
always
counting
Yeah.
United in the title race, though. Let's be honest, are we?
No. I'm not. You can't
Sorry?
win a league with a P. Rob, they've got a PE teacher as manager.
Sorry, no, I will say Ole's very good when his back's against the wall. He will turn up against the top teams and do it. He's notorious for doing it.
He's notorious for getting
don't rule them out because they've got a tough game run of fixtures.
He'll get 0-0. He'll get 0-0 draws. Honestly, I think they could have Haaland and Mbappe. Bring back prime Maradona, and you would not win a league with Ole as manager. He is not good enough to win a title in
what you
England.
just said about the tough run of fixtures. Everyone said that when he went to PSG, first English team to do it and beat them, and he was going away and doing that. I just want
Martin, what is he won since he's been manager of United?
I'm not saying.
Obviously,
I'm not saying he's going to win.
He's won the Interfirst Trophy, Brewers Cup, Audi Cup. I don't know.
He won the Norway Cup.
Norway Cup.
Norway Cup.
Was that
for
United? It was damage. When was the last time he won a derby at home?
Martin, I know. I want us to win a derby. But at the end of the day, we've still won the trophies.
Yeah.
I want us to win a derby.
I'm not denying that, but let's not get on the arrogant train of, no one's going to compete with us because we've had a decent week.
No, we're not saying no one's going to compete with us. We're saying United aren't going to compete with us.
Yeah.
Does anyone want reality to bite them in the arse now?
Chelsea might.
Are you ready for reality to bite them?
I remember United finished second last year, but never mind. We'll chuck them out the table.
Right, question the first. Viva asked the questions. Question the first. How many points did Manchester City win the league by last season? Go on, Stato.
Loads. What was it, 10? I don't know.
Come on. How many
last season was about 16 points.
16 points we won the season by.
Was it? Bloody hell.
We've had a better start to this season than last season by about 8 points. By about 8 points. We're 8 points better off than we were last season. I've pulled that figure out my ass. It's probably a lie. But it sounds right, so let's go with it. Okay, are our problems going to be against United and the top 6 teams this season? No. The Southampton draw is what worries me. If there's 4 more draws like this in the season, that is a worry. Because Southampton set the template. Southampton set the precedent now for other clubs. Go to the Etihad and don't defend. Don't stick 10 men behind the ball. Attack them. You might get a point. You might get a point if you attack them. Because Southampton are nowhere near in our league when it comes to ability, resilience and all the rest of it. But you know what? They put everything on the line and got a draw against us. Now, if just 4 more smaller teams do that at the Etihad, that's that point gap from last season gone. Okay? Secondly to that, I don't even think we're going to go to Goodison this year and take a point. Don't underestimate teams like Everton. Do not underestimate teams like Everton. Do not underestimate teams like Aston Villa. There's a lot.
West Ham, like I said earlier
don't
on.
Underestimate West Ham. There's a lot of teams in this league now, outside of the so-called top 4, big 6, whatever, that are actually they're not mugs. They're not mugs. They're not mugs. No, Chris, don't lie, Christopher. We had an off day against Southampton because Southampton did something that no other team does when they come to the Etihad. They attacked us. They attacked us, Chris. Teams do not come to the Etihad and attack us. Teams come to the Etihad and park the bus.
Good point.
Yeah, Rob, that came as a surprise to Pep. I think tactically.
Rich, I'm going to have to disagree there. Look what happened last season with Norwich.
They were in the Championship last season.
And Norwich.
Sorry, season before that. Sorry, my bad. But still,
Season before that, it means.
Season before that, still my point is valid.
We had a meltdown, absolute meltdown defense against.
All I'm saying, Rich, is that the precedent has been set by Southampton, and I've not said that it will happen. I'm just saying if it does happen 3 or 4 more times, if Brentford come to the Etihad and say screw it, we've lost this game anyway, because this is what teams do, Rich. Teams that are lower down the league than us, who were fighting for survival or fighting for mid-table, they look through their fixture list and go, you know what? No one expects us to do Dicky Bird at the Etihad, so let's just bloody well go for it.
And look what Brentford did to Liverpool.
Yeah. So it's a possibility that you've got to remember. It's a possibility. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
Especially when we're not clinical enough, Rich. Yeah.
Secondly to that, we are not as clinical as we have been. That's fine. That's a fair fact. Are Chelsea better suited to the long game than we are? Over the last 4 seasons, no. This season, have they got the missing ingredients? Potentially. You've said there before, Liverpool lose their only good players to the Africa Cup of Nations soon. They'll be struggling for top 4. Chelsea lose Mendy, the goalkeeper, but they've got Kepa blah 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 sat on the bench waiting. So realistically, although Mendy is a way better keeper than Kepa blah 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 blah, because he's an absolute wobble merchant and throws his toys out the pram.
Chris has been naughty boy.
I'm just saying, yeah. So Chelsea theoretically are not really that much weaker because defensively they're very good, very very good. Midfield very very good, and they've got Lukaku, very very good.
I thought Mendy was French.
No, he's
correct me if I'm wrong there.
Isn't he African?
Yeah, but I mean, I'm pretty sure he plays for France internationally.
I'll tell you now. Hang on.
He might, yeah. I don't know.
Well, whatever it is, they're going to lose somebody. I'm saying it, they're losing someone. Don't care who it is. Jorginho, let's say that he's from Swaziland. Screw it. Don't care, they're losing someone. Next. Man United, waffle merchants, but for some reason they'll still finish third. You asked the question, Rich. Yeah, see, look, Mendy isn't French. Don't correct me. Asked
what is
questions.
He then?
I don't care what he is.
It's Senegal.
Senegal, there you go. Get screwed. I was right. You were wrong. Rich, you asked the question. Are we going to win the league? Or do we want to change our predictions about whether we're going to win the league? I said... Swaziland don't even exist anymore, Chris. I said we weren't going to win the league anyway, and I'm still saying we're not going to win the league. But it's going to be closer than I thought it would be. I thought Chelsea would win it by 10 points. I actually think they're going to win it by 2-3 points. Rant over.
I don't think it'll be Chelsea.
I think we're going to... I thought we were going to win it.
There we go. Martin thinks it's United.
No, I don't. I think it will be between us and Liverpool, as I said at the start.
Shut up, Martin, you waffle merchant. Liverpool will be lucky to finish 4th. Lucky to finish 4th.
I think we're going to win it by at least 5 points.
On the evidence, Martin, that they're overrated and the shit, and half the players are going to the African Cup of
Nations.
Nations.
Undefeated. They're the only team apart from us to get 98.
This is not wrestling. We're not talking about wrestling. Alex Ferguson, the greatest football manager of all time, said that if you want to win the Premier League, lose less than 6 games. Liverpool will lose 6 games this season. I guarantee well tell you. They'll come to the Etihad. They'll come to the Etihad and we'll spank them. Liam Delap will get an hat-trick.
That's absolutely fine.
They'll go to Chelsea. They'll go to Chelsea and Chelsea will spank them.
Right, Liverpool.
They'll go to Goodison Park and Everton will spank them. They'll go to Old Scaffold and United will spank them. Liverpool are a fucking myth, Martin. Go and light a candle. M62. Go to Liverpool. If you want to be a Liverpool fan, that fucking road's over there, mate. Get out of this club because you are a waffle merchant. You are a waffle merchant if you think they're going to win the league. Bastard. They've had 4 chances to do it.
Get out of this club.
They've had 4 chances to do it under Jurgen Klopp with apparently a greatest of all time in every bloody well position, Martin. And they've won 1 out of 4. We've won 3 out of 4. They are a top 4 team. at the best. And you know when it comes down to it, they will throw the Premier League in the bin and focus on Europe. So don't you dare tell me that they're in the title race.
I tell you what.
And
I'll
Martin,
tell you what, right now, you're getting chucked out the motorway. You're going out the M6 out my door. I'm telling you.
and do you know what? Do you know what is going to absolutely tip Liverpool over? It is the fact that Salah is out of contract in 18 months.
Oh, he's going to
He's asking for 500-600k a week.
No, he's not. He's asking for 380. Where have you
Martin
got
Horsfield, his
this
absolute
from?
head's gone.
Yeah.
Martin, his head's gone at this point.
He's
Head's
asking
Where's
for
your
a signing
figures come
on fee
from?
with it. He's asking for a signing on fee with it. What happens when FSG think we're going to cash in on him and they sell him to Madrid?
This
and
is
the
what
fans
happens when you
going
get
to
the
melt
Channel
down.
9 football news.
I know, Rich. Martin thinks we can get Salah for about 70, 80 million in January. So
No, I didn't. I said that's what talk shit was saying.
Liverpool are not in
Yeah,
a title race, Martin. The second that an important Champions League game comes along, they'll lose 3 on the bounce in the Premier League.
Yeah, because. All right, well, carry on.
The Premier League title is between Chelsea and Manchester City, and I'm still saying that Chelsea will win it by about between 1 and 3 points.
Chelsea struggle against mediocre.
Martin, put it this way, Martin. If Liverpool win the league this season, Martin, I will get Mo Salah's face tattooed on my ass with "I am sorry, Martin" written above it, because it ain't fucking happening.
Right.
Why is everyone in the chat just turning into Liverpool fans?
Everyone remember that.
don't worry, we'll record it. We really will record it.
Oh, this is on YouTube and staying on YouTube.
Live on
This is
YouTube.
proper
live. We'll all be there.
Brilliant. We're all Scousers now.
Everyone's like, come on, Liverpool. Are you going to get your ass shaved, though?
Everton have got a better chance of winning the FA Cup this season than Liverpool have got to win in the league, Martin.
Go on.
It would be funny if actually, I hope that Everton do finish above Liverpool. You know, Benitez has got them playing pretty tidily, pretty.
Oh God, we're off now. Everton are in a
Liverpool, they're just gonna.
Jesus, someone's played some decent football. They're in a title race. Let's put Southampton up at favourites as well.
I didn't say title race. I said, knock them out of the Everton or Liverpool, and
Oh, this has been great. This has been great. I have to ask you, Rich. Have we
Rich
answered
has
your
absolutely
question?
lost the plot.
Have we answered your question,
Watch
Rich?
Channel 9 football news.
Martin, what are you on about? You think Liverpool are in a title race, Martin?
Give over.
You're a
Give
waffle
over.
merchant.
Absolute.
You're a waffle merchant.
Absolute.
You
In the
believe the
mud.
hype?
Nightmare.
Did you go out and buy a Beatles CD yesterday? Because you believe the hype, mate.
Absolute nightmare over in the land of Oz. No wonder it's all upside down.
Have you got You'll Never Walk Alone pyjamas, Martin?
You be quiet, you old man. You Thomas Tuchel fan. You've got a Thomas Tuchel signed photo up on your wall.
Yeah, you've been given a bit of the Scouse Kool-Aid. You are Red Scouse Kool-Aid, I should say. You're overrating.
I don't know what you. I don't know.
They overrate themselves. They don't need you overrating them too.
You've had a bit of the not got a clue laid over there, you.
Martin, sometimes, Martin, when you're the only one spouting waffle, you are wrong. You know that, right? When 99.9% of people, right? Sometimes there is that outlier where that one guy speaking on his own is right, but you're a waffle merchant, Martin.
Don't you worry. Well, we'll see at the end, won't we?
Yeah, we will see at the end. You've got to get a tattoo of me on your ass.
Arsenal were getting relegated, you absolute.
You didn't say Arsenal are getting relegated.
Yes, you did.
You didn't say that. Go back. It's on film. It's on the videos, mate.
You told me Arsenal are getting relegated.
I said that Arsenal could be in a relegation battle. Those were my words.
Ladies and gentlemen, he had a bet with me 2 weeks ago, and he lost it in like 3 weeks. So shocking behaviour.
Right, Rich, how long have you got left, buddy boy?
He hasn't got long enough.
I've actually got longer than I thought.
Okay, so we can get another question done then.
Let's
take this to the full 2 hours. Let's take this to the full 2 hours and get that last question asked. So,
Rafa Benitez is the next City
Let me
manager.
just remind myself about what my question is to see if it's better than your questions. And if it's not, we'll ask your questions. Oh, mine's
I
a
can
good
ask
question.
my question. It'll
No,
really
no,
put the
Martin, you're in the weeds, mate. You're in the mud. You're neck deep. You're in the You're in the Somme. You're in Flanders Field, mate. You're done. You're out of here. You're on a yellow card, mate.
The bloody blue noses.
You're in the sin. Oh, look at he's
What
calling
was
us
your
blue
question,
noses.
Liz?
He's
Yeah.
calling us blue
Comedian.
noses now. He's calling us blue noses now.
Look at Rich
Look at
here.
him.
Look at Rich here with his
Who's the
Evertonian
best
jacket on.
comedian? Ken Dodd or
Look at
Stan
him with his
Bournemouth?
Everton jacket on. He's got an
Right,
Everton.
come on, gentlemen. We've actually got the seal of approval this stream. I've not been slagged off once yet. So come on, let's. Is my question better than your questions, or do you want to ask your questions?
Martin, sit up as well. Come on.
Sit up straight, Martin.
I'm sat up. You can be quiet.
Yeah, Martin did just call us them, and he called us blue noses. So Ed's gone.
Evertonian blue noses.
Come on, question. Is your question better or not?
Well, my question was
Well, should we let the chat answer? Like whose
Hypothetical
question
Let's
they
get a
want answered?
question from the audience.
Yeah, question from the audience. Question
Yeah.
from the audience. There we go.
no, I do not have a season ticket at Anfield.
I'll pick the question because I can't trust Martin. He can't read.
Rich has a season ticket at Goodison though. He sits next to Carl Blundell.
Come on, question from the audience for the last 13 minutes of the stream.
And Ozzy has a season ticket at Barnsley. Look, you can see it.
Barnsley.
That's why he knows all,
there.
why he knows all about John Stone's career. He's been watching it since he was about 10.
Rich has asked both of his questions and it's caused an absolute meltdown.
Rich, you're banned next week.
So, is there anyone else you want to
No,
ban? Martin, is there anyone else you want to ban or demote?
Is Martin going to West Ham? Yes, Martin.
No,
is going-
Martin, stop it. You're not allowed to interact with the chat. This is City fans in here. Oh, Yusuf, your mate Yusuf turned up, Martin. You want to tell him the good news that you're a Liverpool fan? Right, sod it. I'm making the executive decision. Ozzy, you ask your question because...
Because what?
Well, because the chat's just asking Martin when he's
Because-
signing up for Liverpool. And
Now,
Martin's
there's a couple of
waffling.
questions here. If
Is
you
there?
could pick any player from the big six, who would it be?
That's a
Which
good
player
one.
would you
Where's
let
that?
go?
Why don't
So
I
you
see
could
that?
combine those
Cal
into
Blundell.
one question.
Oh, we're not
Yeah.
answering one of his questions, though, with that waffle
You could,
merchant.
but you could make that one question. Who, if you could
Sorry,
start
Cal,
one
you
player
banned
in
me.
our
Well,
squad-
we know Martin that Martin
Someone
would pick a
else.
Liverpool player.
Oh.
He'd have Henderson captain.
Can I ask a
tomorrow.
question? Define the top six.
All right, just
Who
because
is
you
the
have
top
the
six?
Everton's captain.
Who's the top six? Chelsea,
Ooh.
That involves
Chelsea,
Newcastle now as well.
Chelsea City, Liverpool, United,
In
Tottenham,
any order?
and Leicester.
Leicester.
Right.
Are you talking in
five.
any order?
No, you're allowed one player from any of those 5 teams, Martin.
Kante.
Look, just in the chat there, Yusuf, the most waffle merchant. If he's a generational player in the Premier League, Yusuf, why has he only won 1 Premier League? Huh? In the last 4 times of winning the Premier League, he's won 1 and City have won 3. So how is Mo Salah a generational talent? Surely it is someone who's won more trophies than him that should be the generational talent. You
Chris Baker.
waffle
Harry
merchant.
Kane.
What?
He's done what?
Tottenham are a top 6 club. Bloody hell.
Kane.
He's picked Harry Kane.
Chris, what are you on tonight?
Right.
He's on,
Behave yourself.
Can I answer?
He's on the
Rich train.
train.
he's on the rich
He's on the
train.
train.
Yeah.
Here's my answer. My heart would say Kelechi Iheanacho because he deserves a second chance.
Oh.
Yeah,
I
but
like
my
your
head,
thinking there.
my head would say Son.
You said top 6. Tottenham out in the top 6, aren't they?
All right, then Marcus Rashford, simply because I love Marcus Rashford. I think he's a great guy, upstanding citizen.
Oh, can't have Liverpool players, but I'll go over to the Rags. Sweet away, look at that. Straight in, no hesitation.
Well, I'm sorry, but Marcus Rashford is an excellent gentleman. He's a
Go and get your
wonderful
season
citizen.
ticket, Salford. Off you go. Not even a mank. Off you go. Go and get your season ticket at Old Trafford.
Martin, you're from Glodick, mate, in Oldham, so you can't say anything.
I'm actually not.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I would go for Son from Son. How do you pronounce it? Is it Son or Son?
Son.
From Tottenham. I think he could do a great. I think he's like a Ronaldo. Me, I really do think he's like a Ronaldo. You stick him on the edge of the area and he'll get you like 20 goals a season.
No one doing a Kante. No one joining me on the Kante
No,
train.
because I love Kante, and I've always said that we went to Leicester to buy Kante and came out with Mahrez, but we're a different team now, Martin. We're a different team. Kante needs Jorginho. That's the difference. You'd have to play two. You'd have to play the 2-man pivot if we brought Kante in. At least with Rodri in the team, we don't have to play a 2-man pivot. So no. And that is as for as much as I love Kante.
Yusuf saying Andy Robertson.
Well, that's because he's an idiot. If he's the best left back of all time, why has he only won one Premier League? Surely the best left back of all time is Patrice Evra, who won 7 Premier Leagues.
I can't stand him.
Well, it doesn't matter whether you can stand him or not. Liverpool fans talk waffle. He's won 1 Premier League, and that's all he'll ever win.
I have to say, I would pick a striker.
Calvert-Lewin.
But that's why I said Son, because Son can do both,
Yeah,
Rich. I'm telling you.
I would pick someone to play number 9, and I'm not quite sure who.
Calvert-Lewin, Rich.
I'll tell you who I'd pick.
Who knows this?
I'll tell you who I'd pick. Mason Greenwood. Because I think he's got a really good left and right leg. I thought I should say.
Is he an out-and-out striker, though? Is he an out-and-out striker? I don't think he is yet. He might
could
be.
be
One
moulded.
day.
Too early to
He
tell,
could be
really.
moulded, though. He could be
Yeah.
moulded. He's young enough, and he is a very talented player.
Mhm.
So it would be someone like him. You know, I'm not sure. I'm
I
not
can
sure
see him being a
Calvert-Lewin's
winger.
quite right for City. You know, Son's got the work rate, and he's a good finisher, so I think he's a good call.
I've got to disrupt this sensible talk we're having to address yet another deluded Liverpool fan who doesn't actually know where Stanley Park is, by the way. He still failed to tell me where Stanley Park is. Ashley Cole is probably the best English left-back to ever play football. Roberto Carlos, arguably, is probably the best left-back to have played world football. Patrice Evra is the most decorated left-back in the Premier League. Andy Robertson has won 1 Premier League, and he's above average. You just total waffle. This is the cult of Liverpool. The cult of Liverpool. If he's the best left back, and Trent's the best right back, and Van Dijk's the best centre half, and Fabinho's the best midfielder, and Salah's the best attacker, why have you only won 1 Premier League? Why have you only won 1 Premier League? If they're all the best. If they're all the best in their position, why have you only won 1 Premier League? Your arguments just go in the bin, mate.
And they've had these players for how long as well? You know, we're not talking about these players for a couple of seasons. You know, they've had the likes of these players for 3 seasons and they've won 2 trophies.
I've got to say, I've got Digne above Robertson anyway.
Yeah, Digne. Leighton Baines was an excellent at left back, sorry. Gail Clichy was part of the Invincibles with Arsenal. Gail Clichy won a Premier League with Arsenal and won a Premier League with Manchester City. That's 2 Premier Leagues. That's 1 more than Robertson. So he's better than Robertson.
Cancelo's won.
Alexander Kolarov, perhaps the worst left back to ever play football, has won more Premier Leagues.
Yeah.
Someone's taking the prison salaries as well. Ooh,
so
that's too early.
Yeah. Too early, but still facts remain. There are plenty of left backs that have played football.
Chris says the cheese moved in the last 30 minutes.
Yeah, the cheese has moved, and it turns out that Liverpool are a hype machine and completely overrated. Well done. You can win a European knockout competition.
Oh, wait until Newcastle.
Everyone clap for Liverpool for being good at knockout football.
You wait until Newcastle get into this level of chat. They're going to be like, we're the best team in the world.
No, Ozzy, wait till we screw up the Champions League the next 10 years and Newcastle win it before us.
Yeah, I have got one question, which is the opposite to the question that was asked by Cal. What 1 player outside of the top 6 would you bring to Manchester City?
Oh, honestly,
you know, the player I thought a few weeks ago, I think got arrested and might be about to do a...
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking exactly the same thing, Rich.
You know
Well,
what?
yeah. There was a certain Brighton
Smith
player I
Rowe.
thought would be a really good
really
buy
like
to
Lucas
replace
Smith.
Fernandinho. But now he's inside, I'll have to change to a different
No,
player.
I love Smith Rowe at Arsenal. I think he is a really tidy player and has got a big career ahead of him if he moves from Arsenal.
What, Martin? You're saying Arsenal are in the Big Six?
No.
What?
Yeah,
When did
Smith
that
Rowe.
Roman Empire's already said the guy that I'd bring in, and I'd sort of bring him in for memes, but I'd sort of also bring him in because he's actually really good, and that's St. Maximin. I really rate the lad. I really
tell
rate
me
him.
he'd swap him for Sterling earlier today.
I would if necessary.
I was waiting for someone to say Todd Cantwell. Waiting for
What price?
No, seriously, what's wrong with that St. Maximin? I think he's really good. I really do think he's really good.
He did cause us a lot of problems at St James's Park last season.
I'm just kind of wondering why you used to put Ward Prowse.
I think unfortunately for Saka that he's another Sterling, which is not a bad thing. He's a great footballer. Saka's already a great footballer, but I think he'll have the same sort of career as Sterling. He'll be undervalued, underrated, and he'll need a striker. He'll always need a striker.
And he's stuck at Arsenal because he signed another
And
contract.
yeah, he's stuck at Arsenal, yeah.
Stupid. I can't understand. Same with Smith Rowe, though. Like, he's just signed another long-term contract with Arsenal. Why? Why are these players doing that to themselves? You know, look at what Harry Kane did to himself.
There's another question there. Would we take a left back out? So if we were taking a left back outside of the top six, then yeah, Luca Digne all day. A left back inside of the top six for me, I'd take Luke Shaw. In form, Luke Shaw is great. He's great.
Are we putting Everton in the top six? I mean, Rich.
No. I've just said outside of the top six, Luca Digne. Inside of the top six, Luke Shaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout. I agree.
The player I'd be interested in, and I'm sitting on the fence about him because he would have to change some aspects of his game. But I wonder how much Calvin Phillips can continue to improve, because a player I think really important to us is to get a second CDM who is faster, more energetic, more in the Fernandinho mould, so not a Declan Rice who I'd see as more in the Rodri mould, but I'd be interested to see what Calvin Phillips' ceiling is, because half of me thinks he doesn't look crisp enough in the passing and quite.
Well, Calvin Phillips is another one. Calvin Phillips is another one, and Declan Rice. They both need another guy with them. They both need another guy with them, so that's why I wouldn't pick either of them.
Can I ask, on the Calvin Phillips, does he need a move somewhere else?
I don't see why he does. I don't see why he does.
Club.
Why does he? Why does he need a move? The only club that he'd realistically go to is another one of the same size as Leeds. So what's the point? Stay at Leeds and try and get an FA Cup. Let's face it, Martin. 1% of all footballers win a trophy in football. And it doesn't mean that you have a bad career just because you don't win a trophy. You might have regrets and you might think, well, if I would have made this move, like Alan Shearer, for example. But the lucky thing for Alan Shearer was that he won the trophy relatively early on with Blackburn. So when in 1997 or 98, whatever it was, when Shearer went from Blackburn to Newcastle, Manchester United knocked on his door and said, "Hey, come to us and win everything." But Shearer was already content with his one win, so he could afford to go to Newcastle and try and win with them. So why does someone like Declan Rice or someone like your guy at Leeds have to move?
Calvin Phillips.
Why do they have to move? Because it is not beyond the realms of possibility that they could push for an FA Cup. Portsmouth have won a trophy, Martin.
He's a Leeds fan in and out.
Wigan won the bloody FA Cup, Martin. It's possible, mate. It's possible.
Can I just counter that slightly? Because you look at Jack Grealish. Villa could have won something, but it was said that he had to move to improve his career. So
I think, but
you could say that about Calvin Phillips, Declan Rice.
Yeah. They moved to the Grealish moved to the very top, though, and I think I thought what I took from maybe what Martin was saying is that Phillips needs a stepping stone, another club that's
that's what I meant.
Better than Leeds before he goes to the top six. Whereas Grealish, I don't think Grealish would have left to go to a Leicester or someone who's better than Villa, but not the top. I think he left because it was City, and we're arguably the best team in world football, with arguably the best manager in world football. and therefore.
We've just had a
a
Newcastle
different
fan
thing.
join us in the chat, by the way. So I just want you to know that we've been Newcastle United fans for collectively about 180 years. The fog on the Tyne is all mine, all mine.
Yeah.
We love Alan Shearer. Amazing. We love Newcastle. Martin still slouches, even though now he's a Newcastle fan. He doesn't sit up. This is the Geordie way. Yeah, go on the tune. Yeah, blah blah blah.
I don't know.
You
Away,
just
man.
missed
The biggest
you just
club
did a
in the
half-hour
world.
special on whether Robert Lee or Scott Sellers was the best player.
He's just said the biggest club in the world. He does realise money doesn't make you the biggest club in the world, doesn't it? I know, man.
I told you it was going to start, didn't I?
Right. Anyway.
Biggest
So yeah.
club in the world.
All right. Everyone, calm down. Let's wrap it up, gentlemen. We've done 2 hours. I hope everybody has enjoyed it because I think tonight's been really good fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, enjoyed that. Next week we've got some. I won't mention it, but we have got.
We don't talk about future
treat
things,
you well.
Martin. Blah blah blah. We don't talk about future things. That is a rule established very early on in the channel, Martin.
I just said we've got a treat.
Right, but we might not have a treat.
It will be good.
We might not have a treat.
It will
Could
be good.
be.
Which is why we don't mention it.
Might not be.
Rob is going to have the greatest meltdown in the history of meltdowns,
Why?
without a doubt.
Huge.
Someone will have to remind me after we're off air what the stream is because I probably will have it. I have meltdowns anyway. Screw it. Whatever. Yeah. Best of luck to Newcastle. Sean, this is on YouTube as a video, mate, so you can go and watch it back. The whole thing has been a lot of fun. Martin thinks that Liverpool are the greatest team in football history. He's now a Liverpool fan. Fact confirmed. Ozzy apparently is a Barnsley fan and Rich is an Everton fan. I, of course, am supporting my boyhood club, Newcastle United, as I've always been a fan. Good night, ladies and gentlemen in Apache Attack Helicopters. It's been emotional, as Vinnie Jones once said. Take care, everybody.
It has. Good night.
Thanks, everybody. Subscribe and hit that like button.
And if you're going to do it anyway,
Can I have a budgie? Audrey, get me Woodbines. Can I have a budgie? Right. Goodbye, ladies and gentlemen.